I think it's really important to understand that starting a business is like a personal development program. It's going to bring up surface all of your insecurities and tender places and all the things we have around being seen and being enough and rejection and failure. And what happens with being a container like B-School is it gives you this steadfast structure. So you can have all of this emotional stuff going on, but you have something that you can come back to and show up to over and over again.
Welcome to the Cycle Coach Show. Empowering conversations on menstrual cycle coaching. We're your hosts, Claire Baker and Lauren Olivia Hughes. Well, I think this is a great place for us to start our conversation because, dear listeners, welcome back firstly to the Cycle Coach Show. We've had our annual winter break and we're back with more episodes. And today we're speaking with a really dear friend and business peer, Vienda Maria. And we have first of all known each other for over 13 years now. We've both been in business for a long time, between us, like over 25 years of online business. And we have just spent 17 minutes trying to figure out the audio for this conversation. I tell you what, every year I think the internet will improve and there's, you're just always faced with difficulties here and there.
Truly, it's hilarious because you would think that the most basic thing, like turn the microphone on, open the camera, is second nature by now. But for some reason, technology is like, I don't feel like working today. Sorry, bye.
We both run internet-based business, which is really a lot of what we're going to speak about today in this conversation. We feel, I think, both of us really passionately about with business, about women being in business, and about the liberation of that self-employment allows both of us, and what having our own businesses has meant for our lives and for our craft and for the meaningful work that we both do in the world. So we're going to speak about that today. But I do think that it is helpful to be honest and say there are, of course, complications. Like it's not as easy, perhaps, as some influencers might portray that, we sit there by the pool with our laptops just happily typing away. I mean, right now, you're in India, I'm in Sydney, in Australia, and there are complications. There are things to navigate when it comes to having your own business, right?
Yeah. There's plenty of challenges. And I think one of them is to also recognize running a business is a choice that you make for a particular reason. And it can't be something that, there's the grass is greener. It has to be a decision you make because that's only in the right way for you personally. And I think we're going to dive into that a little bit today to understand whether that's right for you or not.
So how did we meet? I think that's a great place for us to start because it really anchors us into what we're talking about today, which is about an offering called B-School, which is where we met, that we're going to speak a little bit more about later today. So it was 2013. Why did you sign up for Marie Forleo's B-School training?
Because I knew I had skills that I wanted to offer the world, but I didn't know how to. I didn't know how to present them, to market myself, to offer them, to show up. The craft and the work that I wanted to do felt so distant and so scary to me. I knew I needed something that offered me structure and systems and processes that I could easily follow. And that's what attracted me to B-School.
Because you're an extremely sensitive and intuitive creative being, and this is what I love about you, and it's what makes your work so meaningful as a writer, as a coach, as a mentor, as a practitioner trainer. So Vienda, like me, runs her own practitioner training. You train people how to be mentors. You do beautiful mentoring work in the world, and you have an incredible Substack and such a dedicated, glorious writer. and the way you move in the world, in your life and in your business, it's like, for lack of a better word, flowy. There's a flow to you and the way that you show up, and it's so beautiful. And I love what you're saying about the need for systems and structures. But like, I get the picture that you're not naturally drawn to that way of being, of having systems and structures that ultimately businesses really need. What like, I would just love you to take us, like, what was the moment when you realized, I gotta learn some skills here to actually be able to really deliver this like, the heart of your work?
It felt like I knew what it was that I wanted to offer. And that part was easy to me. As you said, like showing up as a mentor, writing, sharing, that part is so easy for me and I enjoy it. I get so much out of it. But the understanding the systems required to allow this flow to be reciprocal, to be able to show up for people, to actually offer what it is that I want to offer, seemed completely impossible. And I felt it such a dead end. And I also was kind of at a dead end in terms of having a conventional career. I was like, there are no jobs in the world that I could or want to do. There is nothing. So I have to create my own job. And the only way I can do that is by learning how to do the practical aspects. And, even now I struggle with some of that. I go back to B school and watch the marketing module every year because I'm like, wait a second, what do I need to do again? Because it doesn't come naturally to me. But it's so, like, once you start to understand the systems that are actually much easier than I think I usually made them, that I used to make them up to be in my mind, it becomes quite fun. Actually, I mean, what drew you to B School? Because that's how we met. We both did this course, and then somehow, I think it was a Facebook group that someone organized. Talk us through your journey.
So I actually studied business in my postgrad in Melbourne, and I've known for a really long time that I wanted to have my own business, and I knew pretty quickly entering the workforce that it was not going to work for me. I assumed that I would work for much longer in a career before then setting up my own business, perhaps later in life. But I realized pretty quickly, this is not going to work for me. I really value my time. I really value my freedom. And I found it incredibly painful to have to sit in an office for 8 or 9 hours a day, 5 days a week. It was literally, like, viscerally in my body. I even just now recalling it, I just remember the discomfort, the pain, the negotiations that I would try to do with my boss. I would say to him things like, listen, if I come in an hour earlier, 4 days a week, can I take a half day on a Friday, for example? And it was not even on the table, those sorts of conversations, which blew my mind because I'm like, I'm going to still deliver the same amount of work and the same quality of work, but I just want a bit of freedom. So I realized pretty quickly this is not going to work for me. And I'd started blogging and I was writing and sharing online. And I'm really grateful, honestly, that I realized pretty quickly that I want to make this a thing. Like, I don't want this to just be a side hobby. I actually really want to make a go of this. And to do that, I'm going to need to learn how to run a business. And so that's when I enrolled in B School in 2013 and learned what it actually takes, to serve people. Who did I actually want to serve? Where are they? How do I find these clients and build this community? And how do I continuously reach them in a meaningful way? And like you, I go back to these foundations all of the time. And I'm really grateful that it was actually very early on in my self-employment journey that I learned these skills, because something I see in a lot of the practitioners who we train at Cycle Coach School and in clients is people who have been giving it a go on their own for, say, 3 to 5 years, and they're wondering why their marketing isn't working, why they're not finding the kinds of clients that they want to be working with, why they're burnt out and exhausted and it's not working for them. And they're excellent at their craft. They're fantastic coaches or space holders or creatives or facilitators, but they don't have an understanding of how to run a business. And I think it's never too late to really dedicate time and energy to honing business skills, but I think it's also never too early. I'm really grateful that for me it was an early step.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me, what are some of the practitioners, like when you think about the people that you're working with and training, you also work with writers, coaches, facilitators. Where do you see people, and women especially, getting stuck with business?
There's a few key things that stand out and repeat themselves over and over. One of them is the vulnerability of being seen. Huge one. Like, just people get stuck. Like, people are going to see me. And that's scary. And it is scary. You are putting yourself in a vulnerable position. You have to work through that and repetitively practice that. And that's part of marketing, is allowing yourself to be seen. So that's a huge one. Of course, we all have this. I still get this, like fear of failure, and this needing to reframe that and recognize that that's information. When something doesn't work, it's just information, and not take it personally. Actually, I think it's really important to understand that starting a business is like a personal development program. It's going to bring up surface all of your insecurities and tender places, and all the things we have around being seen and being enough and rejection and failure. And what happens with having a container like B School is it gives you this steadfast structure. So you can have all of this emotional stuff going on, but you have something that you can come back to and show up to over and over again until you move into a place where the business is actually working and then thriving. And I think often, and what I see with the people that I work with, is they stumble upon these first big emotional blocks, and they think that that means that they should stop and that it's not for them, when actually what they need is structure and systems to keep going and move through it, because that's growth. Like, that's the edge of growth. That's what it feels like. It's super uncomfortable. I know. I've been there. I'm there. But what about you?
I agree. There is no personal fast track like having your own business. And I think it needs to be like that, especially when the work that you're doing in the world is something that you truly believe in, like the work that you and I do, the work that I imagine most listeners who are tuning in do. We're stepping into fields that are not necessarily mainstream. They're perhaps a bit edgy, and they often have a deeply personal narrative. There's often something that we've overcome in our own personal life that leads us to want to share a different message than we're seeing in the main culture. And that can be really vulnerable to bring something to market that you might not be seeing, in like regular mainstream places. And I really want to honor that, because that takes a lot of courage, honestly. And I think if you're noticing emotions come up, or in a criticism or comparison, or I should be further ahead, or am I too late, or what am I even doing? I actually think that's all really normal. And I really mean it when I say you have to get comfortable with that, because it's going to be there in various forms, probably over the course of your business journey. For me, it's still there. Right now, I'm going through it as I'm entering this new year in 2026. One of my goals for this year actually is to drop down to 3 days a week. I've been working a 4-day work week for the whole 13 years that I've been in business, in the whole time that I've known you and that we've been working together. In fact, somebody said to me the other day, I met them at a meetup that my partner was going to. He said, "How long have you been in your business for?" It was an entrepreneurial meetup.
Yeah.
And everybody was sharing like, 2 or 3 years, 5 years. And I was like, 13 years, actually. And he was like, the same business? Because so many entrepreneurs, jump to so many different creative projects, because that's how our brains work. And while my business has evolved, I felt incredibly proud to say, yeah, I've been doing this for 13 years. And I am really proud of that, because I know what it has taken to get to this point. And so with this new decision this year to actually drop down to 3 days a week, it's bringing up again, like comparison to, well, maybe if I kept it at 4 days, I would reach this level that I see somebody else doing. Or if I love it as much as I say that I do, don't I want to be working all of the time? But maybe if I just put in this extra amount of effort, then, it's just, and it's so funny to catch it because like, oh my gosh, it's still there. But if I had have said to myself, right, this year I'm going to really go all in and do 5 days a week, it would show up in in that way as well. It's, you can't win with those voices. They're there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting because I think one of the big things of running your own business and learning how to structure and systemize it is that you are confronted by the social norms you think you need to follow. So I see a lot of people who've worked a 9 to 5 who then try and bring this 9 to 5 structure into their business, and it doesn't work because the mindset has to change, because an employee mindset is about how much time I'm spending doing something. Whereas an entrepreneur mindset, and something that you mentioned right at the beginning that you had realized, is what are the results I'm getting? So if you're getting the results you want in 5 minutes, that's all it takes. If it takes 5 hours, fine. If it takes 30 hours, maybe you need to change the way you're doing it.
Yes.
But you really have to change your mindset. It's not about how much time and effort you put in. It's how am I getting the results I need and want? And that changes everything.
And this is why I feel confident, although, like I said, there are definitely some voices that are floating around in my mind that are really trying to keep me safe and protect me from causing any harm to my life. I can appreciate that. But what makes me feel confident that I can do this is that I know what I need to focus on in order to keep my income where it is and maybe even grow my income. Like, I don't actually equate time in with energy out. I swapped that hours for dollars mentality a really long time ago. I totally agree with you. It is about, it's about what I'm producing, what I'm delivering, the quality of my work, the meaningful connections that I'm making. Actually, none of those things are really dependent on this being 4 days or 3 days. And so knowing what to focus on, I think this is a really big thing that I received from going through B School and going through it in subsequent years, is knowing what to focus on. I think especially in today's social media era, when every account that we're scrolling through and flicking through, we're seeing someone else's way of being in the world. And so there's all of these different shiny possibilities for where we could go next. Is the next thing you need to do to hire a VA? Is it that you need to refine your offering? Do you need to get your branding done? Actually, maybe if you just follow this person's little 3-step formula, then you'll suddenly reach 10K months. And it can be really difficult to know what's actually the next right step for you and for your business. And I have to say, I think that's one of the main things that I have gotten from learning these business skills early on, is knowing not a formula to follow, but knowing really what the basics are. What are the absolute foundations of having a business? Those things don't actually change. Trends come and go, but the basics really don't change. So when I notice that I'm getting distracted by shiny things and the possibilities of maybe I just need to. It's like anything in life. I see this in the hormone health world. We love to get caught up in the trends and the shiny contraptions and the products and the protocols, when actually really what we probably need is a good night's sleep and 3 meals a day and to move our bodies, right? I really believe the same in business. Do you agree?
Completely. When it really comes down to it, it's the ABCs, which is annoying sometimes because I'm like, I want to follow the shiny thing. If I want results, I have to stick with the ABCs, and B School really tones down the noise and it makes it very simple. Like, these are the things. I think there's 6 modules, 6 areas to focus on in a business. It's not overwhelming. And it reminds you, actually, for this to work for me to get the results I want so I have time and money, these are the things that I need to focus on. And the other stuff, sure, if I love it, go have fun with it outside of, X amount of hours.
How do you balance this then? Because you are an exceptional coach and teacher. Vienda and I have collaborated on many projects over the years. And we're friends. We spent a lot of time together in person. So it's not like I just know you through Instagram. We've spent a lot of time together and we've collaborated on a number of projects. We've taught together in London. I've seen you in action and I know how much integrity you bring to your work. The quality is just 10 out of 10. So then how do you, but you also run a thriving business. I think you have an extraordinary balance of honing your craft and really like being dedicated to being great at that, which I think is a beautiful thing, honestly. I really admire people who really want to be excellent at what they do, and you're absolutely one of those people. But you also run a business that has sustained you also for over a decade now and through life's ups and downs. So how do you balance that dedication to both of those things so well? Because this is something that I do see practitioners struggling with.
It's a really good question because I wish I'd be like, I have the perfect formula. I don't. For me personally, my commitment comes to my life first. Like me as a human or a soul having a human experience, what comes first always. So whatever's happening in my life, I'm checking in, is my being okay? And does she need anything? And what does she need? And how can I adjust to give that to her? So that comes first no matter what. And the business is a vehicle to give her a lot of, meet a lot of the human needs I have. It offers me the finances, it offers me the stability, it offers me connection, it offers me community, it gives me so much. And in fact, sometimes when my life is chaotic in my personal life, there's nothing I love more than sitting down for a work day because there's this familiarity and this steadiness to it that I can come back to. And I'm like, yes, I know what I need to do and I'm going to do it. But to find a perfect balance, it's more like a dance. Who needs my attention right now? Is it me as the being or the extension of me, the business? And that changes day to day, week to week, month to month. I just had a really intense 3 months of very focused, dedicated work. It was amazing. Now I've got 2 months of really pulling back and allowing that work to show up and play out and do what it needs to do. And it'll change again. And I'm actually looking forward to being more hands-on again in a couple of months or in a month or so. But I like this weaving back and forth. And that works for me. There is no absolute schedule. I'm not like, I take off this month and this month because it just depends on what's happening to my life. That's kind of how I do it. How do you do it?
Yeah, I dedicate, I think for me, I really need to have dedicated days. My brain just really works in time. If there's something, I think because I value time so much, if I really value something, then I will dedicate time to it, which is why I love a calendar. And this is again part of the reason why I won't actually want to experiment with a 3-day working week, because I actually want to dedicate more time in my life to the home right now, especially as I'm preparing to have a family and going through IVF. I actually really need more time away from my business at the moment. So I think it's really around time. I've always been pretty boundaried with this, having a 4-day work week, having dedicated days in my business that are for creating, dedicated days that are for communicating and marketing, dedicated days that are for doing my finances, which always seem to get, that's like my weak point, is doing my bookkeeping. That's the one that often gets swept away until later in the month. But that really works for me, is having that structure. And that really serves me, honestly, and especially when I'm going through a season of wanting to learn a new skill, whether that's training in my domain, which might be fertility or menstrual cycle awareness. I've recently completed a course on relationship coaching. I'll have a dedicated day for that. If there's a skill that I want to learn in my business that also has its dedicated time, that just is, for me, the only way that the things that really matter will actually happen.
Speaking of learning, I don't know if you get this, and this also kind of weaves back to B School, but I get really motivated to take action when I'm learning. Like learning excites me so much to then do things with the things that I'm learning. I really love applying things. And I remember when I did B School and I had these little light bulbs go on. Oh, then I need to do this. And I didn't apply everything straight away or in linear time. What am I trying to say? Like the way that it's presented. I kind of picked and chose from what I was learning for whatever kind of sparked my joy the most or got me most excited. But that action of learning accentuates the desire to do something with it, to apply it, to make things happen with that. And I think that's so exciting. Like when I'm learning even something to do with mentoring or mental health or whatever, then I'm like, yes, now I can apply this. And it inspires me so much to give back from the learning that I'm receiving.
And that's really the heart of it, I think, honestly, is what separates a great practitioner from another great practitioner, one who is more successful in their business than the other, I think, honestly, is their willingness to take action and to implement. You can be extraordinary at what you do. And look, don't get me wrong, word of mouth referrals are fantastic. And if you're doing great work in the world, then it's very possible that the people that you're already working with are going to tell other people and they're gold. Like, I love a word of mouth referral. And it might not be enough, actually. You might really need to be doing more to let the world know, hey, I'm really doing some great work here. I have something to share that could really make a difference in your life. I have some gold that I have mined for. I've worked hard for these learnings and these teachings, and I want to share this. And it really, I think sometimes people can get really caught up in fear around, who am I going to become if I spend all my day on Instagram? Or I don't want to have to become a slave to the algorithm, or I don't want to become someone else than I actually am in order to have a successful business. And I totally get that fear. And that can really hold people back from taking action and from implementing. But I think that's really what sets someone apart, someone who's prepared to say, okay, cool, game on. Like, let's do this, and takes that next step. And it is just about that next step in front of you, right? It's that one next step. I hear you as well on getting excited through learning. I have this experience myself whenever I'm learning something new. Like, for example, in this relationship course that I just completed, I had so many ideas come through on different ways I'd love to work with couples in menstrual cycle awareness and sharing this work with more men, for example. And I probably won't do all of those ideas because I probably actually execute 1% of the things the ideas that I have, because I'm grateful that I have a lot of ideas, too many than I can actually dedicate time to. But that's where the gold comes for me as well. That's where my best ideas come through, is when I'm learning something new, and also when I'm connecting with other business owners. And your friendship and our personal friendship and our business partnership has been such a support for me. I mean, we check in with each other's lives and businesses every couple of weeks. We have done for such a long time. And having people in your corner who get it, who get the ups and the downs, the highs and the lows, who can back you, see you, support you, it helps so much, I think, with that comparison that can happen in the era of Instagram, right? Because you actually get to see up close the realities of someone else's life and business. And you've really been that person for me.
Yeah, likewise.
So we've mentioned B-School a couple of times. It's where we met. It's an 8-week online training program run by an entrepreneur named Marie Folio. And I don't, I'm not an affiliate or a partner for anything else except for B-School. That's not my business model. I don't regularly promote other offerings that I receive any kind of kickback for. It's just not how my personal business model works. But we've been sharing B-School on and off for a number of years now because it has made such a difference in our businesses and ultimately in our lives. And this year we're sharing B-School again. And I'm excited, actually, because although, like we've said, the online terrain and the business terrain has changed somewhat, those foundations that B School teaches have not changed. And I think that the more fluent we can become in those basics, then the less mental energy having a business actually takes, and really the more time you can spend on your craft. So what does this mean for us to be a partner with B School, and what can we offer folks who might decide to enroll through us?
So as an affiliate with B School, when you sign up for B School with Marie Folio, you also get some very delicious and generous gifts from Claire and I. This year, we're offering both our books. So Claire's, it's your Adore Your Cycle ebook and audio, and your 50 Things to Know About Periods
Exactly.
book, a physical book, which is amazing. My Planner, which is a planner designed for women in a very intuitive and fluid way. So you get a big physical book where you can put all of your big ideas and map and plan things out in a way that more traditional planning might not support. And then we also have 2 courses that we both created, the Heartful Biz, which is, we actually got tagged by someone recently who rewatched the Heartful Biz, and I think we created that 8 years ago or something like that. Is that right?
Yeah. Maybe even 9.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so she was saying to both of us when she tagged us, she finds it so useful and she still refers back to it all these years later. So you get that. And also your own online course, which is a course on how to build your own online course, because that's been a big part of our income for a long time. And then we get 2 coaching calls, one with each of us. What else is there?
Yeah, that's it. And it's pretty great. I think when I took B School, I took it under another woman who had been in business a few years ahead of me, and having that one-on-one time with her was really helpful. Online learning is great, and I love it actually, but there is something really helpful about having live mentoring support. And so enrolling through us means that you actually have our support. It's, yes, you have our courses, which are fantastic and are real legacy work for Vienda and I, but you actually get us for an hour each to go through what you're learning in the training, what you're feeling excited about, what ideas you have that you'd love to brainstorm through, and just having, genuine time with each of us, I think is really awesome. And I'm so looking forward to supporting anyone who decides to take the leap with this business training to support your business in 2026 and to take it with us. Who would you say that this offer is not for? B School is not necessarily for everybody. Is there anything that comes to mind when you think about who this would not be appropriate for?
I think if you're already well established and in your life, I would say it suits best people who are in the first 2 to 5 years of business, or people who have been in business for a while, but it's just not working. So if you're looking for more systems, more structure, more focus, and more clarity, I think that's what's really good for. But I also think that if you've been in the business world for quite some time and successful, you're probably going to learn some of the things that you've adopted or learned along the way already. What do you think?
I agree. I think that if you're already advanced in your marketing skills, especially, then perhaps this is not right for you. I would say if you have really no time, it might not be right for you as well. You do need to dedicate time to this. And although it's an 8-week training, I would say that it takes probably a year to actually go through everything and implement everything if you want to take it at a slower pace. So if you have really, if you just have absolutely no time, then perhaps it's not right for you. And I think if you struggle with learning online because it is delivered online, then it might not be right for you. And that's okay too. If it's not the season for you, then it's not the season for you right now. I share this training with so much pure love in my heart and appreciation that I know that it will land with the people who it is right for this time around.
I agree. Yeah. And I would like to add also that even though it's run live for a certain period of time, even though it was run live, I watched the videos in my own time when I felt like it, and pulled things from it as and when felt right, and then revisited pieces. And so even though there is this structure to it, you get to decide when you're available to take things on and action them.
And you get lifetime access, which is really nice as well. So there's no time limit either. I think it's worth diving in while it's running live because you get that sense of momentum and connection when other people are doing it too. And they offer office hours and things like this that you can get some support. But I love that I can come back to it in my own time. And I know for me personally, the first 2 weeks, I think took me a number of months to get through because there was just so much there and so much to implement. And it's very action oriented, like we've said a few times now. There's something in the learning that's really exciting. You learn a theory and then there's a practical step to take right away. And that's the kind of teaching that I really admire. And yeah, so I'm just thinking I'm wondering about questions people might have, and I'm thinking about people who've taken cycle coach school. We cover a little bit of business in cycle coach school, and we speak about how to price your program, how to structure sessions, who is it for? We speak some about social media marketing and how to reach those people, the importance of having a newsletter list. I would say, some of the basics, but it really is I've thought a number of times, but why don't I just include more business training in cycle coach school? But if I'm honest, it would add another 6 months onto an already 6 months training, even longer. And I've made the decision not to do that, to actually keep it what I teach at cycle coach school to be really tight and clean, actually. When you come and train with us, you learn how to integrate menstrual cycle awareness into your work as a practitioner. You aren't going to walk away from this with in-depth business advice. And that's a decision that I made. And I'm really pleased with that decision, which again is why I feel really comfortable offering and, redirecting people to this training that I benefited so much from and that I really know can make a difference for them. Do you offer business guidance in your facilitator training?
Very little. I just teach them onboarding and offboarding and holding client sessions, but not really any of the business stuff. And I know that's the piece that people struggle with. But as you said, adding that would be a whole other course and it's too much. And I need people to spend time implementing and adjusting what they've learned about mentoring before they jump into business. So it just doesn't work. The B School is just such a beautiful accompaniment for anything that we do.
And look, it's one way. I would never try to pretend like it's the only way. It's one way to learn and develop foundational business skills that can really make an impact in your business over many, many, many years. It's one that we both trust and feel really comfortable and confident sharing.
That we've done.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah, key one, have done. and we'll go through again. Yes. I'm really looking forward to going through the content again.
Yeah, and she updates it every couple of years as well. So it's new very often. If you sign up, you have a lifetime access. Every few years, you're like, oh, wow, there's something new. There's additional information. I'm learning something that wasn't there before, which is incredible.
Yeah, I can say pretty confidently that the investment for B School is a lot less than the money I spent on my postgrad, my business training at university. A significant amount less than that. So it is, I think, fantastic value if you've got time, space, energy, love, desire to commit to it. Wow. What for anyone listening who may or may not take B School, even if you never decide to take this training or to take it through us, I would love to leave people with something to remember and to take into their businesses when we're speaking to practitioners who are doing beautiful work in the world, meaningful and important work, but who might be feeling stuck or overwhelmed with the business side of things. What can we leave them with?
One of the best things that I learned early on, and I can't remember if it was through B School, but I think it was to spend 10 minutes every day looking at what my business needed me to do. And so I literally just 10 minutes. What does my business need from me today? And do that thing. That's it. I think just having that practice and implementing that can shift, and did for me, shift things tremendously.
Love that because it's creating a separation between you and your business. It's putting on your CEO hat and saying, okay, as the caretaker of this entity, what is it that it needs from me today? Because your business can't take can't take care of itself. You need to be there to steward it through its life. And so I really love that. I find having that mentality to be incredibly helpful for many, many, many reasons. So thank you for sharing that with us. And thanks for coming and being on the Cycle Coach show. I love and respect you so much and appreciate everything that you do in my life and in the world. And yeah, it's been a joy to connect as always.
Thank you so much for having me. I adore you.
For anyone who's curious about what we've been chatting about today, you'll find links for everything in the show notes. There is a time-limited offer on B-School in 2026. It's all happening in February. So if you're listening to this after the date, there'll be another year, most likely. And we hope to see you then.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Cycle Coach Show. If you loved what you heard, then please review, share, and subscribe to help us reach more cyclical listeners like you. You can find us on Instagram at Cycle Coach School or online at cyclecoachtraining.com.